Welcome to Week in Horror.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The only podcast that will feed your horror need.
The need to feed.
With JL.
Yeah, I'm a fucking masochist. I'll watch that shit.
Eugene.
Somebody has to be the sex symbol. I'm sorry.
Alex.
Shit, I just demonetize this forever.
And Johnny O.
How do you like that shit? Got halfway through the monologue before unmuting myself. Golly, it's one of them fucking days.
With industry guests.
Hi, this is Richard Oakes, Director of Host.
Hey, this is Adam Leader, Director of Host.
This is Matthew Mark Hunter.
I'm Don and Ellie.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And this is Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
News, trivia, and more.
One by one, we will take you.
Join our live show Wednesdays at 7 Central, youtube.com/weekinhorror, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Week in Horror. Stay scared.
And we're live. Welcome back, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. That means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast that puts the fucking lotion in the basket. Thank you for joining our live show, and for all of our podcast listeners, be sure to check us out so you too can interact directly with the show. This week, we're covering select films released in horror history September 5th through September 11th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am JL, and with me tonight are Johnny O and Alex.
Hi.
What's up, motherfuckers?
I just want to point out that JL was wrong in the green room.
So he's pointing out that we were discussing there was the scene in 300 when the Spartans come across the small village that's been decimated by the Persians, and the child comes walking out as the only one, the only one left alive. And I thought, because I'd never actually gone into the credits, I thought that was a little boy, but apparently that was a little girl. Her name is Alexandra, and I was unaware of that. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a little boy, but at that age, especially with all the makeup and how they did her hair, it was difficult to tell. So I was like, I assumed it was a little boy, and apparently it was not. It was a little girl. And
that's just your misogyny showing. Why can't it be a little girl? Why do you have to automatically assume it's a boy? Like girls can't act?
We ain't even in 3 minutes. You're already gonna call me out for some shit. What the fuck?
Johnny's on fire.
Fucking brutal.
I'm kidding. JL is one of the least misogynist. I can't even say it. That's how much of a bullshit lie that is. I'm kidding. I do want to send out my deepest well wishes for everybody who's been affected by this latest tragedy, this latest shooting in, where was it, North Carolina?
North Carolina, yeah.
My goodness, people. Put your guns away, fuckers.
It's
Jesus
wild.
Christ.
Fuck.
Anyway.
Insane.
Yeah.
Well, before we dive into this, let's take a quick look at who is in the live chat. See who's joined us tonight. I see 40
What's up, fuckers?
40 seconds is Surf. It was the first one in the chat. Surf, good to see you, one of our amazing patrons.
Hey, Elizabeth.
And, Tina Jones says, peekaboo, be sleeping before the end. So my answer to the quiz is 42.
The answer to life and everything.
The answer to life and everything, yes. Christopher Music Channel says, is here in the house. Says, my guess for the trivia question, Kyle Butt in the parlor pummeling his own forehead with a 40-pound Bible for the win. So that's
you just won clue.
That is the reference to my personal channel in the video that I just recently released. Good guess.
That Chris. Is a reference to his personal wish list. I mean, personal channel.
Charlie Welch is in the house. Good to see you, Charlie Welch. He says he was 69. Elizabeth, good to see you. Elizabeth Sylvester. Nice. Excellent. And Sarcasm, who is lurking and working. Always away. Charlie Welch says the trivia answer is Spanglish. The Adam Sandler
Paz Vega, very nice to look at.
Yes, Paz Vega.
And she's a terrific actress.
Prime Red is in the house, says the horror is real, and it is. It is very real.
That's right.
Commander Darklight, hey, it's good to see you. Another one of our amazing patrons. I think our first patron. So good to see you, Commander Darklight, all the way from Australia. And Christopher Music Channel, good to see you. Let me see who else. Jin Ju's in the house. Hello. Good to see you. And I think I didn't see anybody else pop in. She's like, Oh, they're talking about Prime Red. Oh, Prime Red and his Bible Man reviews. If you want to talk about horror,
there you go.
You check out Prime Red's channel on
some
YouTube.
Fucking scary shit right there.
Look at his breakdown of the Bible Man series. It's some terrifying shit.
That will really haunt your dreams.
It will haunt your dreams. All right, I think that's all in the house for right now. Good to see everybody, and thank you for joining us live. And be sure to smash that like button; it really does help us with the algorithm. So, before we jump into today's selections, we got some deep ones that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, we're going to talk real quick about our first big outing as a podcast, as a team, when we go to Texas Frightmare Weekend. The weekend of the 10th, 11th, and 12th back in Dallas. So it's been a while because TFW has been put on hold because of the whole, lottery situation out there. Everybody's been, you just can't have conventions when you can't socialize. But we're finally past it, and we're going to be there.
Yes. JL, make sure you remind me to bring my audio gear. I have lapel mics for the four of us with individual recorders, so we can kind of, if we get some like candid stuff, we can grab it while we're there.
Badass. That's cool.
Yeah. I just thought about that.
Very neat. Hey, Alpha K91, good to see you. And but yes, yes, Elizabeth Sylvester, I will be streaming to Discord again. We're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to pick up with Phantasm 3 because we have some people who have not seen the fifth one, and we want to make sure we get through the whole franchise. So we will get there. Let me see here.
When are we doing the director's cut of Nail Gun?
I will be showing the director's cut of Nail Gun as well because that one is available. Yeah. And Eugene just messaged me with a link so we can show that, and I will be showing that in Discord as well, so you can see the extended torture scene that did not make it into the final cut of Nail Gun. So that will also be in the Discord. So I hope to see you all for that one. I'll put out the announcements so everybody will see it. And of course, but before we jump in, Texas Frightmare Weekend. I've been through the schedule. I've looked at all who's going to be there. And we're all going to be there as a team. So I'm coming back down to Dallas for it, but I'll be meeting you guys there. What are your plans? What's everybody? Is there something you're waiting to see?
Well, I mean, for me, like I said, I'm pretty much just going to leave work on Friday and meet you at the convention center or at the convention center, the hotel. That's about it.
Yep.
We're getting a hotel room together.
Yeah. You're invited. You got a key. What the fuck?
I mean, it's at the Hyatt Regency. It's fancy.
It is fancy.
We put the mate and teammate.
I mean,
man, no, going over everything though, like everything's fucking booked. Like it's totally sold out. Everything is completely like.
Yep.
Yeah, and
that's why I have friends who live nearby, and I'm already crashing with them, and I'll be driving up to the convention.
So I'm sure you're ready to see Freddie Prinze Jr., right?
Not particularly. I mean, Freddie Prinze is a good dude and all, but I think my heart is set on who predominantly Malcolm McDowell, Tony Todd, and Danny Trejo.
How much do you think it's going to cost? How much do you think it's going to cost to be able to like sit down and talk to those guys? Because it's like free.
I just sold a house. I don't care.
He's like, I got $100K on fucking bankroll. Don't worry about it.
I just sold the house. I don't give a shit.
So I'll be in your back pocket.
The operative word is I.
I'll be your security guard.
I'm not bringing that much money to the deal, but I will be bringing enough to
cover
my
expenses. like curious. I'm curious what it would cost.
What I'm really excited about, and this is kind of cool, and just having done this show and the way the show is taking off, and this is a bit of a humble brag. I'm looking forward. It's not just the fact that I sold the house, but Week in Horror has really kind of blown up beyond our expectations. And I am seriously looking forward to going to the TFW or Texas Frightmare Weekend, walking into the T-shirt cube and buying all the T-shirts I want.
And making it motherfucking rain.
And that is what I've always wanted to do that. Just walk in there and be like, shirt, and just grab all the fucking shirts I want. That's what I want to be able to do. I think that is just going to be awesome. We'll be walking.
You could do that.
50 fucking shirts.
You could do that for a quarter of the price on Amazon.
But I want to make a show of it. I want the retail
it's the flex. It's the flex.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's not the actual T-shirt because whatever. I mean,
it's walking out with 2 bags in your hand from the T-shirt.
It's walking out like, "Ha, motherfuckers! You should have robbed me on the way in because you can't rob me now."
Because I got shit left.
I'm seriously looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast. Those are the 3 actors I want. I mean, and I want to be able to I want to be able to get their autographs, add them to my collection, and everything. Because, I love Danny Trejo. Tony Todd is amazing. He's in the new Candyman. It's about to come out here this winter. Are they actually? I think it might have gotten pushed.
It's already out. Yes, Jinju. Yes, Jinju. It's already out. Yeah, Jinju. The answer is yes.
What's the question?
You don't need to know.
Oh, would jail sell the firstborn calf from a neighbor's farm? Shit, that one and the second one.
No, honestly though,
two different farmers claiming they're both the first.
All right, I got a guilty pleasure one though that I want to talk about.
What's up, Tony?
Dylan McDermott's going to be there.
Yeah.
There you go. American Horror Story.
I'm hoping that I can catch a glimpse at least.
Well, you could go to his table and get his
right. As long as you pay him I think it's like $45.
I didn't just sell a house. I clearly don't even have enough money to buy a fucking office. So.
Why would you need to buy an office? There should be one in your home.
The whole point was I don't have enough money. Yeah,
Jay, you're focusing on the wrong part of the story.
He's so poor he can't even set up an office in his own house.
I don't even have enough rooms in my house to have an office.
This all looks nice and pretty, right? Okay, but let me show you where I'm really at. Hang on a second. I'm gonna show you guys where I'm really at.
Oh no, here we go.
You ready for this? Oh, Johnny O's in a really cool. This really does. Bam! No, he's not.
I'm not flipping my camera around, dude. It's not good.
For those, Alpha K91 says says that they're behind in American Horror Story. I can tell you this: in the new, there was the American Horror Stories, which was a loosely knit kind of anthology of just like small deals. It's like 2 episodes long, really, really contained. He shows back up in that because they revisit the murder house. And so, for anybody interested in that one, I think that's
actually pretty good.
Cool. Yeah,
what was that Matthew Perry movie he did?
What was that Matthew McConaughey movie he did?
I don't know. I remember the last movie I remember seeing him in was Olympus Has Fallen. And he winds up getting smoked by Gerard Butler because Gerard Butler kills
everybody, including the president, which is like what he's not supposed to do. I'm kidding.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to give that away, man.
All right. Let me see. Who else we got popped in? Yeah. Well,
3 to Tango. That's what I was looking for.
Is there anybody you're looking forward to seeing, Johnny?
All of them, really.
Everybody you can?
Just gonna fucking be like the guy. I'm gonna be the collector. Like, hey, I don't know who you are. Will you sign this? Like, dude, I'm just a fucking guy taking tickets. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna fist bump Corey Taylor. That's my I want to do it for free though.
Corey Taylor?
No free fist bumps.
No free fist. No. I actually got to mosh with Sid Wilson.
Dude, I did some other things with Sid Wilson a long time ago back in the day.
Look at Sid Wilson just giving it away for free.
So we were at what was it? Freakers Ball '99, and I didn't know they were playing. And my younger brother was a huge fan of Slipknot. He's the one who introduced me to Slipknot. And we're there and whatever. And the fucked up thing was it was raining that day, and we were in the covered section, but our row was literally the first row just outside of the covered section. So not only are we getting rained on, but we're also catching all the water coming off the fucking, the Starplex, the awning from the Starplex. So we're getting doubly fucking douched. And all of a sudden, we're just watching. Oh no,
whatever. I see a T-shirt in the future, guys. Getting double douched.
Double douched. So we're doing our thing, and all of a sudden, I feel somebody run into me, and I turn around, look ready to fucking throw down. And I look, there's this guy with this goofy fucking mask on the ground. Like, what the fuck's the matter with you? And I pick him up, and he's all, "Oh no, boss! I don't understand what you're saying." And my little brother's like, "That's Sid Wilson!" Oh,
you just fucking punched DJ Starscream in the throat, man.
I did not. I didn't do anything. He ran into me and fell down. I picked him back up. He's a little guy. I picked him up in my pocket. He's a little guy.
That's hilarious. All right. So a bunch of cool. Let me see. Tony James is in the house. Good to see you, Tony. And says his guess for the trivia is Bubba Hotep. Pretty good guess.
Damn it.
Pretty good guess.
I'm rewriting the trivia question. Fucking
flipping the script.
And I see NA, one of our amazing patrons, has joined the chat. And I think I'm all caught up there. Well,
Prime Red, I'll take your autograph. You write on a piece of paper and you send it to me. And Elizabeth, there's going to come a time. I know you're not in the States area ish, but there's going to come a time where the Week in Horror is going to be mobile, a lot more mobile. We might be doing a little bit of a. I'm not going to say we're going to be doing a press tour,
but there might be microphones involved.
There could be microphones involved. That's all I'm saying.
Nice. Jinju, would the double douche T-shirt have Eileen Worms on it?
Oh my god, that is such a good fucking idea.
That's a really good idea.
That's so dark.
I love it.
It's so dark. Oh man. So it's gonna be awesome. I think it's gonna be a brilliant, an amazing experience. I'm ready to be exhausted again because running around, because it's as much work as it is fun.
Yeah,
you sitting in lines, talking with people, but then of course running around. I'm gonna have stickers with our information to pass out to everybody so people can check it out, and I think that'll be a blast. Hopefully, maybe next year, because this year Nail Gun will be screening at Texas Frightmare Weekend. So there will be a screening of it and a Q&A, which I'm assuming all of us will be brought up to talk about that or to jump on the
Maybe
mic.
we'll be getting out autographs.
Yeah. Maybe we will. Yeah, there's a possibility. So we will discuss the movie and do that whole thing. And then, of course, maybe next year, once we get the feature done and the feature plays, maybe we'll get a booth and we'll set up a booth at Texas Frightmare Weekend where all of us will, I'll pretty much be there and be like, buy my shirts and buy the movie and I'll sign autographs and shit. You never know.
There is going to be a Week in Horror feature film made next year. It will happen. It will happen.
Just about
it's going to be called Doubly Douched.
No. It's going to be called Doubly Douched. Yeah, exactly. No, there's going to be a Week in Horror feature length film that will be made next year.
That we produce, or that it will be about us.
That we produce.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know what I'm talking about? The fuck?
Well, no, because I actually thought of a horror film about for about 4 horror fans who make a podcast, and then they're in the studio one night and they're recording and they're live.
Stop giving away the goddamn plot.
Well, that was the one based on us.
JL. This is not the plot you're giving away right now.
This is a live platform, right?
All right. I mean, I won't give it away. I've been very. That's the only reason I think, to be honest, the only reason Week in Horror became successful was because I told virtually nobody about it. I didn't say anything online. I kept everything to quick phone calls, and I didn't text anything. I didn't put it out on the internet. I went totally lo-fi and just contacted people. Hey, can I meet with you? It's like the fucking deep throat shit.
He's not even kidding, dude. I was taking a shit one day and an envelope slid underneath my door and I opened it. It was like, hey, you pooping? And that's how we started this whole thing.
Yeah, I had to keep it lo-fi to keep the idea just off the internet because I'm not losing any more ideas. But you never know what the future may hold, so we will see. But I think TFW is going to be an absolute blast, and it's going to be fun. So
check the private chat.
Oh, check the private chat.
Hey, Angie.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
I'm serious.
We can discourse.
We'll hash it out. Yeah, we'll hash it out.
All right. So
what's up, Angie?
I realize now that I didn't change the names because at the last second, Eugene had a prior commitment. I was about to say Eugene had to pull out, and I realized everybody's going to make jokes about the fact that I said Eugene pulled out. And I was trying to think of a different way to say it, and I couldn't. So I was kind of like, Eugene's not here. Eugene got called to his shoot. He's out there actually working.
Somebody requested Eugene's presence because of his fucking brilliance, greatness.
Much. Yeah.
So he is the sex symbol, after all.
Like, we will give you money if you grace us with your presence.
He got a last second job to go shoot something. So
what?
So it's just us. So instead of Eugene, I will pass it to Alex. Yeah.
I'm a stand-in and nowhere near as good as Eugene tonight.
You're not a stand-in. It was going to be all 4 of us.
I'm the stand-in. What are you talking about?
It was supposed to be all 4 of us. I was excited to have all of us on here, but it's cool.
Just the 4 of us.
All right, so let's jump into it.
Let's do it. What do we got first?
Right off the bat, this remake came out September 5th, 2013, called All Cheerleaders Die. This was great. Again, another
was it a remake?
Huh?
Because there was a short film, and then this
There was like
based on the
it was a
short film.
remake of the 2001 film. It was also written and directed by Lucky McKee and Chris.
Yeah, because the first one was a short film, and this was a feature length of that.
It
Short.
was it's exactly like Nail Gun, and then if you want to do like feature Nail Gun, kind of like
what we're saying was they made the film and then came back out and then
shut up. Go ahead, Alex.
Remade the film.
I will punch you in the face.
Anyways, yeah, like we said, Lucky McKee and Chris.
I'm gonna rip your head off and piss in your damn skull.
you guys good? Do you guys need a second?
No, we're good.
No.
Close the door for you.
It ain't that kind of show. Onlyfans.com/weekinhorror.
It is now. JL, I got my camera turned off.
Yeah, but you're all turned
Alex, save me.
You say that. That's how we're going to be saying this weekend.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Seriously.
All right, go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
Anyways, this one is starring Caitlin Stacy, brown chicken, brown cow. Caitlin Stacy. See, I can never do this one. Sienna Smith McPhee, Brooke Butler, Amanda Grace, Renan Joannick, Tom Williamson, and Felicia Cooper. This one is a strange movie to watch. It was a good horror comedy. It was kind of a high school story getting towards the end of the year. Cheerleader seeks revenge after those who did her wrong, and ends up coming across a way to take people out supernaturally, magically. And somebody gets their blood drank and magic stones get cut out and devoured, and it gets weird.
It's a little
weird.
I think it could have been like cheerleader seeks revenge, using magic and other means. But
is it magic or is it supernatural? I guess it's magic. Yeah,
it's definitely magic because the lead girl, the lead protagonist,
Maddie
is she's in a relationship with a girl who is a pagan, or technically a witch. She practices witchcraft.
My mother was a witch,
and
she cuts the stones.
When the tragic event is that Maddie is sexually assaulted by a member of the football team, when that takes place, she decides to seek her revenge by destroying them, and she does this, but she basically by enacting this giant plan to seduce the boy for the guy's girlfriend. And so she seduces her and then kind of turns her against him and basically trying to blow up his life and all kinds of crazy
shit.
You
should write wiki pages. You're a lot better at explaining shit.
I personally dug this one, and because on its surface it's a fun revenge flick and it's got supernatural stuff in it. The girls wind up all the girls wind up getting killed and then of course reanimated by the magic of the witchcraft. The girl practicing
of the
witchcraft.
Infinity Stones. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, with her magical stones. But the interesting thing was that the film was very much this film was was a hard look, or attempted to do a really hard look at the tropes of women in horror, which is a major thing that I think, given what we know, deserves some serious discussion. Yeah,
I think that the whole idea of women in horror specifically has always been, I don't want to diminished at the very least, right? Because generally speaking, in horror film, women are in there for two things: to get naked and get killed. I mean, even your final girls only seem to become final girls by happenstance, like accidentally. I just kind of happen to be you know what I mean? Like,
are you saying that they're not like, they never really put women in there to actually be the final girl?
Exactly. I don't think they do. I mean, I think they do, but the way it gets portrayed.
Do you think that comes while in writing, or do you think a lot of that comes like while they're filming the movie and they're like, well, maybe we should push it this way? How many times has it been actually written into it as opposed to, maybe we could flip the script and it would be different than every other movie because it's different now?
That's a good question, because I was actually thinking about the earliest like strong female character that I can remember. And that would have been Ripley in Alien. But if I remember correctly, Ripley was originally supposed to be a man. And they flipped the script and recast, or they cast Sigourney Weaver for some reason other than, she's a badass actress, but she wasn't, that character wasn't supposed to originally be a woman. So that's the reason why her line delivery, or not her line delivery, but her lines are kind of more masculine. But yeah, I mean, and even then, if you take a look at that, of course, we got to get her down to a bra and panties and half naked because, she's a woman in horror film. So that whole idea of a woman's place in horror film needs to be challenged. And I kind of like what they're doing in this. I kind of like what has been done. What was the other one? There's another one, like the slasher one with the final girl. You know what I mean? That's
the final girls.
The final girls. Yeah. So they all get pulled
in.
in, right? So this is like another retelling of that type of trope. And so Annie talks about Jamie Lee Curtis. I think Jamie Lee Curtis was an accident. I think accidentally found one that, I guess, again, if you look, just by simple happenstance that she happened to beat Michael Myers. It wasn't like she was a super calculated, awesome bad bitch.
She wasn't Sidney Prescott.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. She would just, I almost got stabbed, but I didn't. No, I kind of got stabbed a little bit. It was just, she accidentally beat the bad guy. She later became a badass, but she wasn't written into the script as a badass. It was just an accident.
So in essence, that's what got me about this one, is because especially director Lucky McKee and the breadth of his work is it really, really examines women in horror. So if you look back at his film May, and that is about an ostracized, outcast girl played wonderfully by Angela Bettis, who attempts to retake control of her life and ends up, because it's a horror film, ends up invariably trying to make a boyfriend for herself out of the parts of guys that she likes. Like she's like you have great eyes, you have a great mouth, you have these are in taking those aspects about her.
Sure do got a party mouth. Yeah.
And then trying to make her own boyfriend out of these pieces. But you look at a film like May, you look at his film is brutal film The Woman. And we begin to see that director Lucky McKee really does want to push those. He wants to examine those tropes. He wants to turn them on their heads. He wants to do definitely a Cabin in the Woods style where he kind of flips the script on the genre. He wants to flip the script on female horror tropes. The difficulty is that we have to use them invariably to do this. And that's kind of where I wanted to go, just examining. Because so you have the final girl who is not utilized off, because usually you have a final girl or you have like a team of people that end up being the bad guy. But more often than not, women are victims in horror films. They're objectified. They're sexploitation. These are the roles that women have served. And it is, how many final girls, how many, it's a trope, but how many can we fit on one hand? How many do we put that we can legitimately say that they're a final girl?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
You got Jamie Lee Curtis. You've got Laurie Strode. You've got Sidney Prescott. You've got Nancy.
Nancy
from Nightmare.
Yeah, she's only in 2 films. Well, okay, she's technically in 3 films, but she's only Nancy in 2 films, and she gets whacked in the third or the second of that storytelling.
And then comes back for New Nightmare.
And it comes back,
the meta horror.
But yeah, exactly right. So yes, whereas she is a final girl, I wouldn't say she's a final girl in the same vein as Sidney Prescott or as a Laurie Strode, because Laurie Strode, going back to, if we go back to the actual timeline now that we've erased 2 through 6, or 2 through H2O, she's still alive and still kicking ass. I don't think she's going to finish that way. I'm pretty sure that, and again, I don't know for sure, so this is not a spoiler. This is a prediction. So all you people out there with your spoilers, shove them up your butt.
So Tony Regime says Allison and Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and I don't actually count her as a final girl because she had Tucker's help.
Right.
That was the team effort, and so final girls are alone, and they typically have to face the evil by themselves. Who is it?
What about Dee Wallace?
Dee Wallace is a final girl.
Yeah. I would say that Ripley is a
Ripley is definitely a final girl, taking on the alien by herself.
Yeah. Kirsty Cotton. Yes and no. Yes, as she's a final girl, as in she's still a lot well known now. I guess technically, canonically speaking, she's not alive anymore. She is now the new Hell Priestess. But she did manage to make it through 7 films. 6
Was it
or
all
7?
set? Was it?
She was in the first 3. The third one was archival footage. And then she's referenced in. Well, no, she's actually makes an appearance in Hellseeker, and I think wasn't there another one. Was it Deader or I can't remember. I know there's another one that she was either referenced or they show archival footage of her again.
As much as we fucking talk about the Hellraiser movies, we should have those like memorized by.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, so this is being the point. Those girls that we would consider to be final girls, I actually would include Amy up in there as well from Friday the 13th. Amy Steele from Part 2, and for life of me, I've totally spaced her name, the girl from the first one. Although it's difficult, probably in forgetting, is because she dies like right off in the second film. So
yeah, within the first 5 minutes,
only to get smoked is the intro to the second film.
But there are some people that argued that's part of the trope of being a final girl.
You don't get to make the sequel.
Yeah, you don't make it through the sequel, or you don't even make it to the sequel.
But we can count these on both hands,
right?
Like the girls that we have.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So more often than not, women are victimized. Yep. They are exploited, sexploited, or just plain exploited. The plight of women. You look at films like Martyr, Irreversible, a number. I mean, there's Martyrs, Irreversible, The Woman. I can't think. Even in your rote horror film, it's about girls getting what they want, or and then girls getting victimized for being who they are, or the actions that they partake. If they do drugs, or they have sex, or they drink, or they do something that little girls not supposed to, in that puritanical mentality of it. And horror made it. Yeah,
so glad you brought that up.
It's like the foundation of horror films right there. Yeah, that whole concept that women have this role, guys have this role, and that they should not. These are well defined. The kind of puritanical nature of America in that respect, the foundation of what we were built on. And then that's where the final girl comes from, because she doesn't partake in any of these things. But because of her virtue, she's able to overcome the evil, because good always overcomes evil in that respect. And that's the point, is that we're at a point, and that's why it's so huge right now, is because in this particular one, with All Cheerleaders Die, the girls are victimized brutally, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
And they're objectified. Well, first off, they're objectified because they're cheerleaders. They're basically manipulated and brutalized by their significant others, who either want them solely for sex or want them because they look good on their arms. And then the minute opportunity arises, they're cast aside without a thought to their feelings. And the second they rise up to retake their power, they're essentially murdered. They're killed in the car wreck when the football players force them off the road and they crash the car and they all die. Then the witch comes in, resurrects them all, and then they turn into the, I guess, succubus's thing. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it was a succubus.
But these reanimated, and then they come back and they start retaking their power, much to every way, and then they start basically taking revenge on all the players that resulted in their deaths. But still, while doing this, acknowledging that they're hot chicks, acknowledging that the majority of people who like this like watching girl-on-girl action, because there's a lot of sapphic action in this one. So that's still a trope. They're still being objectified. They're still being victimized, because despite the fact that they're back, despite the fact they've retaken their power, guys are still trying to victimize them. Most importantly, Trey, I think it was Trey, who was the lead football guy, who ends up then killing the girls to take their stones out so he can take the power for himself.
Right.
Because that's what girls do. They're only useful when they can bring something, when they have something that guys can take from them. And so that's where I think this film kind of veers a little bit, because it was trying to flip the script, but invariably use the tropes that it needs. Use the tropes it's trying to subvert in order to subvert those tropes.
I don't know. I think maybe it was using those tropes to highlight, not necessarily subvert, but highlight the fact that they're like the contradictions that you're talking about. Because it makes you think about it.
It's more meta than I was.
Right. It's more like, hey, look, we're guilty of what we are critiquing, and we're doing it on purpose.
Okay, see, that makes sense, especially at the time that this came out in 2013. That was kind of when things started to take a turn towards, because growing up, we're at an age where growing up, it was like you're saying, women were thought of as soft-spoken and virtuous, and they had to be these good little girls, and they were, weaker than a man, and a man had the power, and he was the one that was to protect and survive. Mm-hmm. And kind of around that time, 2013, that's when women really started stepping up, and that sounds bad. I'm trying to be like not misogynistic here at all. Women started really stepping up in society though, and being like, look, we're just as good, look at it.
They were getting recognized. They were getting recognized with society.
It's not that they, exactly. Society started to show equality, even though it was there, previously, because it was fought for very hard. And I've never had like an outlook like that. You bring what you bring to the table, whether you're man or woman, whatever. But this is kind of when we started to see it get a little stronger. Now, my question is with this movie, because like you're saying, it's a little more meta than you think, JL. With this movie, do you think that they could have oversaturated the horror genre by flipping that script around? Could that have gone out of control and people been focused way too hard on trying to show, women can, survive in a horror movie as well as men could? This movie I felt did like it was really good right in the middle of balance in that. It didn't go too far one way, and it didn't not show what it was trying to show. It didn't overstep anything. They put there was the rape scene in there, so there was the vulnerable woman still, but also she came back and was like, look, yeah, you fuck with me, I'll fucking kill you. And it's just, there's a lot that goes on in this particular trope. And I feel like they did a really good job bringing that all together and kind of not making it awkward in a way that would have made it a bad movie, while still keeping like the hero, the female hero at the end of it.
It may have been. I felt it was a little more it was a little self-aware. Like the film is very aware. Like so, I didn't get the same sense from like Cabin in the Woods, where Cabin in the Woods was because that one I don't think was it was. I mean,
that was just in your face. That was in your face.
Yeah, but within the film itself is not self-aware of what it's doing. It's simply operating within the parameters of the writers. This one I felt was a little too self-aware, and unlike McKee's other film, The Woman, which is definitely not a self-aware film, but was definitely doing what this film tried to do, but was way more brutal and hardcore. I think The Woman is one of two films that I've showed on Discord, that I've shown in the Discord theater, that I actually had to put a warning beforehand, because that one is really extreme.
The other one was that fucking tentacle vagina.
Oh, Castle Freak?
Castle Freak, the remake.
I am thinking about showing Martyrs, the original Martyrs, not the American remake. I'm thinking about showing Martyrs, but that one will have to have a warning as well. Now,
warning: if you don't like tentacle vaginas, don't watch this film.
Don't watch this fucking movie. Here's kind of what I was trying to say, because I was trying to put my thoughts together here. Because of what we're talking about, do you think they could continue with this type of movie without it being extremely self-aware, like you're saying, in a way like,
I agree with you that, yeah. In this day and age, can we still make this kind of film, or has it gotten to the point where female exploitation, where sexploitation, where victimization, objectification, that literally part of this is like the aggregate of the horror genre.
We gotta stop. Okay? We gotta stop acting like this is specifically to the horror genre. It's
ubiquitous. I think
it's ubiquitous across entertainment.
All genres. Yes, across entertainment. Women are viewed in one light, men are viewed in another light.
Take a look at it this way: when's the last time you saw Angela Bassett in a romantic role? Now, when's the last time you saw like Denzel Washington in a romantic role? If Sean Connery were alive today, he could pull off the romantic role, but it would be with a fucking 30-year-old. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just kind of the way.
Why is it that every girl that Adam Sandler gets is fucking hot as shit?
Because his Adam Sandler's movies, he can do what the fuck he wants.
It's very true.
And his wife isn't a hideous
I think
person.
the only one I could possibly accept that he could possibly get would be Kate Beckinsale. I actually was able to accept that relationship. I'd be like, I can see this.
For Zuko Balk, I think, I was like, yeah, she kind of
Furs is pretty crazy.
Yeah, so, I mean, you kind of got that swamp thing. It's perfectly cast. I mean,
the whole like biting the head off the alligator. So, but that was a question that kind of came to me. It's like I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the way our society is going, because horror films reflect our society better than, or more so than, any other genre out there. They are they are literally our catharsis for the shit that we deal with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, given the climate and how the climate is shifting, and how things like exploitation, sexploitation, victimization, objectification, all these ways that women are used in horror films, including the final girl. But remember, there are traits of the final girl that many women would find defeminizing. They're chaste, they're pure, they don't cuss, they don't drink, they don't do even Sidney Prescott, for all of her badassness, didn't do these things. In fact, there's a scene. There's when she and the minute she does, when she engages in sex with Billy, that's when it turns out that they attempt to kill her because they're trying to do the trope thing. And then even Ellen Ripley, doesn't get laid until the third film.
It takes 3 dates, man.
It takes three movies across like 80 years for this girl to finally.
I thought it was a little longer than 80 years, almost 100, with like 110.
It's like 100 years for her to finally get some. And Charles Dance, good port in the storm. So, but with this change, excellent. Tony Regime says Adrienne Barbeau.
Oh yeah.
So the question being, we've gotten to this point with the new climate in our society. Do we see this lasting?
Yes. As long as we still have a propensity for misogyny, it's going to be. It's just going to continue to be a trope, because everybody likes to act like the whole Harvey Weinstein. Oh, that's a one-off. Doubt it.
No, I think we can all say, we've all worked in the industry.
Right.
Yeah, it's certainly not.
Yeah, it's not called a casting couch. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. It's just
the fact that we talk about it means it's happened more than once, which means it's going to happen again. It's just it's human nature.
So it's not the fact that it's a part of the horror genre. It's not the fact that Hollywood is too big and you just can't change Hollywood, because you can change Hollywood. Hollywood has changed course on things, exactly. Yeah. And they're deeply affected by what society does. This is why I'm curious about this. But Johnny brings up an excellent point. As long as misogyny is such a thing, is such a pervasive thing, especially in the higher halls of business,
the upper echelons
of business and decision making, that we may not see this go away.
And it never will. That's unfortunate about human nature, is there's something programmed in, lower intelligent people that just it's primal.
Well, no, it's not. That's not even primal. I mean, there's one thing, right? So the whole idea about
you're right, not primal. That was the wrong word. I apologize.
No. I understand what you're trying to say, but so yes, there is that like basis need for procreation and whatnot. So there's some of that stuff that's the animalistic instincts that are kind of ingrained into humans. But drive down the street, go to the grocery store, look at advertisement. What do you see? What's the number? Boobs.
Sex
sells, right?
Yeah.
And look, there's a reason why prepubescent male teens love horror films.
Piranha 3D.
Exactly.
Piranha 3 Double D. I think.
Yeah, 3 Double D. Yeah, see, now we're talking about it. It's like it's so normal in the industry that it's just that's what we're laughing about right now.
I mean, again, look, these filmmakers knew what they were doing. It's like, hey,
what sells.
Yeah,
of course, that's the story, and of course, the story will sell because this mentality still exists.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, is like we've Hollywood has changed course on things before, and have quietly kind of pushed to just solely DVD releases or digital releases without much fanfare, subject matter that they really wouldn't like. It's like, we're not gonna make this a big thing. Movies get made, but it's not something we're going to push, and eventually the interest will fall out of it.
I don't know. I think that it's still, because it'll go away for a little bit, but it comes right back.
But it's not like here's my thing is,
like Jai Courtney.
Oh god! But they made a thing, right? So they made a thing about.
It's not like people don't want to see it, though. That's the thing. There is definitely a group of people that is like, that is disgusting and it's demeaning towards women. But there's I've watched.
Sign me up for it. Yeah, right.
I've watched women that are like, yeah, no, I'm absolutely. This is great. Look at that. Oh, that's kind of hot, and like in the middle of a movie, and it's like, okay, how do we feel about it? And then we have stuff like the OnlyFans. It's not like people completely don't want to watch this kind of stuff or don't want to be a part of it.
Agreed.
They have a very huge
and given that
creator base,
and given that OnlyFans reverse course,
right?
Because of the outcry, right?
The creator base to something like OnlyFans, where these women are out here, and not just women, but mostly women are out here flaunting their bodies for money, and they know what they're doing, and they're okay with it. And that leaves it open to like, okay, well, is it really that misogynistic, or is it really that expletive if they have the option to not do it or have the option to not be a part of it and still participate?
So there's something to be said about like a Stockholm syndrome type thing, right? Like you start feeling bad for, I wouldn't necessarily, I guess Stockholm syndrome might be the wrong thing, but when, you're put into a system, the system quote is the way it is the way it is. There's no changing it. So instead of fighting it, you might as well just exploit it. Right.
So you're saying they don't like it at all. They don't like the attention.
I'm not saying that.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you do have a nice rack down there. It's like whoever's in whoever is in that spot right there has got the Elvira boobs. Case in point.
Sir Little Wolf, good to see you. Thank you for joining the chat. It brings up a good point. Now I want to watch The Entity because that one was that one was a difficult watch. Yeah. Barbara Hershey.
Is it Hershey or just Hirsch?
Barbara Hershey.
Barbara Hershey.
And the sexual assaulting spirit in that one. That one was a difficult one.
That was a rapey ghost.
Yeah, that was rough.
I want to bring this to. I'm glad you said the rapey ghost because the same thing happened to.
Me too.
It's kind of a weird.
Only on Week in Horror.
I was going to say that's a sentence that exists in my life. I'm glad that you brought up rapey ghost.
Shall we address it? We need to address the rapiest of ghosts.
The rapiest of ghosts. Yes, Jinju, I do. No, but so speaking of the rapey ghost, and the same thing happened to Ray and Ghostbusters.
Oh,
I'm serious. No, but see, that's the point. That's the point. We're okay with that one. We're cool.
Because in the eyes of the movies, guys can't be taken advantage of.
Right.
I'm sure, just so you know, if you're having any issue with that at home, call helpline, call a friend.
This is the screwed up mentality of it. This is why it's so wild. In the movie Super, but James Gunn's film Super, James Gunn directed Slither and Guardians of the Galaxy and everything. There's a scene when, and it's so weird to say this now, given current events, but Elliot Page, who transitioned from Elliot Page, who transitioned from Ellen Page, played Rainn Wilson's sidekick in that. What was it, Bolty?
Yeah.
And there's a scene when Bolty rapes Rainn Wilson's character, the Crimson Bolt. So there's a scene when the sidekick rapes the hero. And it's very weird to watch because you see what's happening, you know what's going down. She does this, she attacks him, she assaults him, and because he doesn't want to hurt her, because because at this point he kind of knows what he's capable of, and he's trying not to hurt her, but then invariably ends up getting sexually assaulted for his trouble. And even this how weird the wiring is in my head. At first glance when I first watched this movie, I was like, oh, that's crazy. I was like, that's just a wild, crazy scene. I didn't see it as a rape.
Really? See, I was the complete opposite.
It didn't click at first. It did not click at first.
I was the complete. I've always been I've always felt the way that the opposite that you're talking about. That's immediately sexual assault is sexual assault, whether it's a man or woman.
Yes.
And that scene made me so uncomfortable because it's like, what do? Do you throw the girl across that that you can hurt this woman?
She's like a third his size.
Right. And like, do you do that, or do you just live with the fucking consequence of not doing anything? And that's like the hard part I'm not, women have it hard in society. Men have problems too sometimes. And I think finding the middle balance to that is where we're going to kind of click as a society. But
yeah, and I think and I think this harkens back to what Johnny was saying, because Johnny brought that up. Once we have this mentality that we have to get around, and I didn't, and looking at that when I watched Super the first time, I didn't realize that. I mean, this was years before I thought I was along in my career. It didn't even occur to me. I wasn't even entertaining thoughts to this level where I'm really trying to analyze my position, the things that I think and why I think them. And so I'm looking back at this moment like, holy shit, it really didn't register the gravity of that moment. And I'm willing that gun banked on that.
You got to think about this as well. It's not just a phenomenon that happens in the film. Think about this. I went to a high school where we had a substitute come in and statutorily raped one of the 16-year-old girl, right? Big deal, right? There's a huge fuss about it, whatever. The very next year, well, sure, rightfully so, right? Rightfully so, right? Because he was in a position of authority, position of power, abused it. She was underage, obviously, but fast forward, I think like a year and a half, and the opposite happened, where it was a female teacher who had sex with, I think he was 16 or 17. Same sort of deal, right?
Different standards.
Everybody high-fived him and moved on with their life.
It was a thing, right? You see like these, and you see it with that whole machoism thing, right? Whenever that I think it was a Florida teacher, it happened where she was banging like 13-year-olds. It was fucking disgusting. But she was a very attractive woman, and you have people like in all these comment sections of these news articles talking about, what are you complaining about? I wish I had a teacher like that wanting to have sex with me when I was growing up. Where are those teachers when I was growing up? Stuff like that. It's societal. From a societal standpoint, men or boys being, sexually preyed upon by women, whatever. Oh, that's Mrs. Robinson. Oh, haha, lucky you. That's not cool. You know what I mean? So there's that mentality that needs, it's not just in film. It's in life. It's crazy. We need to break away from that. We need to let them know, hey.
So we're pretty much saying that despite, efforts like the Me Too movement and, the awareness that suddenly, like the eye-opening events that have taken place in this country in the past 2 years, where things have really, really blown up, and hopefully will lead to somewhere very constructive and where we can build from that. But until until the very reason why, like the Me Too movement, came about, the very foundation for why these things are here, as Sir Little Wolf says, art will continue to imitate life.
Yes,
and we're going to have these tropes within the industry, within filmmaking, from now on. I mean, from this point on. I am kind of a slave to this in this respect, because Nail Gun opens with the victimization of a woman.
Oops.
And that's what, and it was that big thing because. And I'm sitting here wondering about it as I was writing out the script for this one. Nail Gun, the very film that I wanted to remake, that I was so desperately excited to remake. And then I look at a film like that, and I look at a film like All Cheerleaders Die. I look at films like Martyrs and The Woman. And I was thinking, there was the only way I knew how to tell that story. Going back all the way back to like Last House on the Left, Straw Dogs, films, I Spit on Your Grave. Movies like this that was the only way I could tell the story.
So what do you think?
Literally had you fridge someone to kick off the entire plot.
True. So let me ask you this. You just said art imitates life, and that brought up a question in my head. In our society now, the way that things work, I'm starting to see more of a life imitate art kind of situation. Things have gone all digital, social media, influencer being the key word there. People on the internet influencing large groups of people to act a certain way, and they do. And these people that have millions of followers online can do or say something. Take Elon Musk and Dogecoin, for example. He tweets something like, hey, this is a good idea. And then everybody goes out and buys this Dogecoin. And that influences, like wealth flows. Money moved the day that he tweeted. So these influencers have a hold over the populace, and they can change things very, very quickly. So art used to imitate life, and that's how you got your ideas. Was like you're saying, horror movies. Like they'll take our everyday horrors and make them, put them up onto a screen so we can watch them and be afraid of them. Could there be movements in the horror community or even in the entertainment industry now that could shift? I think they could use it for stuff like pulling these ideas out of people's heads and kind of moving it towards a better, cleaner way of thinking as a society. What I'm trying to say is there's so much influence in the entertainment industry now. I feel that life could start imitating art on a grander scale. And, do you think that's safe? Do you think we got the right people in charge of entertainment industries right now to, be able to be like, okay, look at this influencer, make them tell everybody to act this way? That kind of stuff scares me. I've got children that, watch YouTube, and they'll start going out and trading all their fidget spinners and poppets or whatever they call them now with these kids at school because that's what the people on YouTube are doing. So it's like these influencers on the internet are the ones that are controlling what the next generation is going to be like. And that's terrifying. And I hope that the right people get put into place for that kind of stuff. Especially with movements like Me Too, where it's like they can move entire generations.
I'm really interested. I'm interested in where it's going to go. Because while the horror genre has not seen a lot of shifts, but we have seen certain I would guess certain stories, certain types of films kind of fall to the wayside. You've always got your kind of underground horror. You got your stuff that's mainstream. You got your art house horror, something that we'll be looking at a little bit later on, and all your different little subgenres. But there's typically been a flow as to, with the mainstream, there is things that publicly like a film like Martyrs, as brilliant as Martyrs was, is not ever going to be mainstream. And that movie is fucking phenomenal, but it will never be mainstream because a movie like Hereditary will be mainstream, movies like that. Whereas Martyrs is going to kind of fly under the radar because society, as the public, the horror genre itself, the vast majority mainstream, they don't want to see that shit. They don't want to go to those depths.
20 years ago,
30 years ago, thumbs up. Hell fucking yeah.
I was going to say, we start thinking about the reason why people go to films is to kind of get away and break away from society. So that's like why your romantic comedies or sometimes your action films or stuff like that are going to be a little bit more popular, a little more successful than your everyday average horror film, because people want that break from reality. They don't want to be constantly reminded how shitty the world is.
Yeah. Right.
What are you talking about? Everything's going just fucking fine.
Peachy.
Jesus. All right. Man, we got into that one, huh?
We did.
Big time. Something I wanted to talk about for a bit, but yeah. Go ahead and hit him with the CTA.
Yeah, I was going to say the CTA, and you had it up here for Eugene, so I didn't look too much into it. And all you've got down is feminist or exploitative. And yes, that is what we discussed.
I just even remember you being there at the breakdown as well. So,
wow. Ooh. I gotta go.
I'll be the hype man.
The point was, and I wanted to ask the audience: do you see that the future of horror will we see a more feminist slant to it, or will we continue to see exploitative of horror of all the different types, either objectification or victimization or whatever? Exploitative horror, will it continue to have a place in the future of the horror genre, or in the wake of things like Me Too and the way society is changing and hopefully changing for the better? Will we see a more feminist slant, more final girls, more of a stronger variation of final girls? Will we see these things, or is it pretty much just a kind of like a bump, just one of those little changes, and eventually we'll go back to what everybody loves to see, and that's the exploitative horror? And I wanted to get the audience's opinion on that.
I'm pretty sure that we're going to see it's going to be exploitative horror is not going anywhere. Too many people enjoy it.
It fits
Mr.
into the genre.
Mr. Andrew says extremes of both. That as one gets stronger, the other one will rise to match.
Right, exactly. It's going to be equal and opposite reaction type thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man,
Tony Regime's right. If there's an audience, studios will grab that cash.
Yep.
What was I going to say? Girl with the dragon tattoo. That's what I thought of when he said extremes of both.
Oh yeah.
How do we follow that movie up? Well, that should have been like the last one we talked about.
Chronologically, it had to be first.
Chronologically, it was first.
Yeah.
Well, we can try, Johnny. What do we got next?
I mean,
this is an interesting one. And I actually, because this is kind of a
speaking of female-centric exploitative, well, I don't know about exploitative, but we have The Moth Diaries, which is a 2011 gothic horror film written and directed by Mary Herron. It's based on the novel by the same name by Richard Klein, starring Lily Cole, Sarah Gadon, Sarah Bolger. Too many damn Sarahs. I can change your name. Sarah.
And
Judy
Melissa.
Parfit and Scott Speedman. So Rebecca, who's a teenage girl, suspects that Ernessa, a new student in an all-girl boarding school, is a vampire. So yeah, it's very interesting. So we have a new student come in, and she's like a loner and whatnot. And the scenery in this film is really nice. I like the use of the gothic style scenery, which I think is amazing. I've always liked that element, where the set is like a character in the story itself. It's one of the things I liked about Event Horizon, another gothic film. Stop it! Got a puppy dog, won't leave me alone. But yeah, this is an interesting film because it kind of gets into a little more psychological horror, all the while being a gothic film in the same vein that deals with vampires.
Yeah, I don't think it gets much more gothic than that wrist slitting scene.
Yeah,
when you like that, it like there in the cathedral, it was like
all we needed was, and Jesus wept.
Pretty much. It's an intriguing one, and I found it most interesting that Mary Herron, the director of this, also directed American Psycho.
Yeah, when we were talking about that, I was like, wait a second. That shows a range there that is unbelievably talented.
Now, and it was interesting, given the tone of that film, and I've looked at her filmography, and across the board, she's very eclectic because she directed I Shot Andy Warhol, which it's so different from the other films, from American Psycho or this one, The Notorious Betty Page. Which I think was that? Yeah, it was Gretchen Mol. Yeah, who was in that one. But yeah, I enjoy Mary Herron's work, and the way she captured this, I thought was quite brilliant. But I wanted to talk about this one because we don't get to talk about gothic horror, like legitimate gothic horror, very often, and there's a reason for that. And just like we were talking about in the last film, it's not one of those ones that really hits mainstream. This kind of whether it's gothic architecture or it's the particular lighting that they use or the undercurrent themes of the film itself. So something like they're like it's because a lot of gothic horror does kind of overlap with coming of age tales, the loss of innocence, the movement into adulthood. And
so if you take a look at vampire films in general, right? That's generally what we're talking about. I mean, I don't know of any true vampire film that's not at least gothic. Well, they're all gothic films. I mean, the roots of the vampire genre are heavily rooted in gothic, at least gothic style film tales. But yeah, it's all about sex.
Well, I'd say Bram Stoker's, Coppola's. Well, even his name is gothic. Francis Ford Coppola. But Coppola's, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think definitely a gothic horror film. But
absolutely.
30 Days of Night.
So if you look at that one again, simply because it's a vampire film, right? So if you play with the nature of a vampire film, not necessarily set design, although you can make the argument that there is a gothic element to their set design with the muted colors, with the way that the way that they film certain scenes where certain areas look very cathedral-ish.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
You can't make
the long
shots and all that stuff like that. Yeah, those are
the jail cells.
Exactly. So there's a lot of gothic elements that went into that film the set design and the production that are overlooked because it's modern day film and it doesn't have knights and whatever and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean I think it gets overlooked. Like again talking about Event Horizon, that was most definitely a gothic horror film. The ship was they designed that ship to be the Notre Dame castle. That's what that was.
A floating castle, yeah.
Right.
Oh, so Little Wolf brings up the Forsaken, and I agree. The way Forsaken was shot.
Wearing my glasses, I just saw the foreskin.
Yeah.
Foreskin. But I agree with that. Catherine, Mr. Millord. Hey, Mr. Millord, good to see you. This is Catherine Bigelow, Near Dark. I'm not sure it'd be classified as gothic horror, but it does have vampires in it. So but one thing,
coming of age story.
one thing also in that sense, a coming of age, but also in one of
Let the right one in.
Let the right one in would definitely be gothic horror.
Yeah.
And as I was sitting here thinking about it, the theme of isolation, the kind of like Sylvia Plath, the idea like that, the other poet, Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson.
Yep.
Yeah, so Emily Dickinson or Sylvia Plath, the idea of, despite being surrounded by people that supposedly care about you, your friends or your family like that, still feeling crushingly alone. And especially that's definitely embodied in the character of Rebecca in this film, is that she recently lost her parents, but here at the school, it's an exclusive all-girl boarding school, and then of course friends all over the place, and everything like that, and she's isolated and alone all the time. Then of course she finally does make a friend. Then Ernesta comes in and begins to slowly isolate Rebecca from everybody around her, as Ernesta begins to either charm, seduce, or kill everybody surrounding her, to kind of isolate her.
Fuck, marry, or kill.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like one of those. Yeah, it's a weird variation of that one.
And that's why I absolutely adore that. And the film itself didn't get great reviews, which was a shame, because I thought it was very well acted. And
people had a lot of really bad things to say about this movie.
I think it's because it's female-centric horror.
Damn.
Yeah, I have to agree, because it's all girls. There's only one guy in this, and he's not even really that redeemable, because he invariably
he's kind of a creep.
He's kind of a creep. He oversteps at one point, although it doesn't go any further than that. But he does overstep, and then he serves his purpose. But the purpose he serves, and I can kind of see it, is he's literally a plot genius.
A plot device.
He's a plot device designed to further isolate Rebecca.
Right.
Because as a result of what Ernesta is doing, because in this film, Ernesta is not like a 30 Days of Night vampire or even Dracula. Ernesta is a psychic vampire, where she draws upon the life force of other people and eventually draining them dry till they die. But being a psychic vampire, she can also influence things around her, like cause people to hallucinate and see shit that's not there, and influence the emotions of others, especially after she's fed. So no doubt the indiscretion between Scott Speedman and Rebecca was as a result of Ernesta's meddling. In order to further isolate you can't go to the teachers, you can't go to your friends, you can't even leave, you can't go to your parents because they're dead. So
can't trust anybody. Yeah,
exactly.
Everybody's gone. Good luck.
And so, and that sense of it was pervasive throughout the whole thing, and invariably she winds up coming through this. And I love the coming of age story there, because the sense, well, this is not like Buffy, whereas high school is hell, except there's on a hellmouth, in the sense that growing up is isolating, growing up is fucking brutal when we look back on it and the shit that we had to deal with, and not from just the things that happened to us, but the things that were going through our minds, through our emotions, as we were developing and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and then being pulled in 9 different ways and feeling we can't go to anybody with anything. And I love that in this film, because
it's particularly effective when talking about that age group as well, right? That 14, 15, 16, right in that age group where, even if you don't have, the parents who recently passed away, nobody understands me, I'm going through all this change and everything's against me and everything is really big. All your emotions are just fucking so all over the place, and there's kind
of personified by the set design. Given the huge places that are in, like this just giant, beautiful place, and where do you fit into it? Because it's so alien to you, and it's like it's cold, it's isolated. Everything is isolated.
Scary because it's so big. There's like, trying to figure out where you belong. Like you're talking about where your place is in this, and then you have all these other people that already have formed their cliques. You know what I mean? They've got their little groups of people and groups of friends, and you don't really fit in, but you do, but you don't. And fucking hell, everything is so huge. And here comes this person, or here comes this thing that comes in and says, "Hey, I'll be your friend.
Let's be friends."
Yeah.
And it's the one thing, and it turns out that it's a murderous vampire child.
Yeah. One could
No,
say
but
it's
you're not kidding.
allegorical to addiction, to drug abuse.
Because invariably that's what happens to Lucy.
Yeah.
Is that Ernessa plays on Lucy's need in order to be the center of something, because Lucy knows that she is not, that while she's Rebecca's best friend, Lucy knows she's not like to that level. In her mind, she's a better friend to Rebecca than Rebecca is to her. And it's because Rebecca needs her more than Lucy needs her. But then someone comes into Lucy's life who apparently needs her more than Rebecca does, and then gives her that fulfillment. Of course, it needs her because it needs to feed off of her and eventually kill her. So, but that is what Ernessa does. Ernessa is able to play the role that Rebecca does not. And Rebecca's, the areas where Rebecca should be having a presence in are eventually eaten up by this monster that has come in, until eventually she can overtake her power. She can retake her power and be, I guess, destroy the monster that is, the barrier that is between her and actually embracing her own life.
I didn't realize you're saying all these things and it's all clicking as like this narcissistic, like, I'm like, okay, I can see how American Psycho was made by the same person, looking at the way that this movie went down. Because there's a lot of narcissistic, vampires are narcissistic as fuck.
Everything is about them. Everything is about their survival.
They will manipulate everything around them to get what they want. Wow, that's just shit's just clicking in my head right there.
And the horrifying that how now Ernessa, despite the fact that she apparently is giving people what they want, she's in essence using everybody for her own narcissistic supply, because her objective is to survive at all costs and to never be destroyed, until she messes with Rebecca and someone manages to stand up and retake her power, because she does not give in to this, because it's Rebecca's kind of self-isolation when she's going through her trauma and she's trying to basically break through this thing, accept the fact that her parents are dead, accept her place in the world, that she's going to have to define her own terms. These are all things that we as children had to do. Ernessa preys upon those who have not done it yet. And it's breaking through that into adulthood is when the monsters cease to affect us anymore. We realize the monsters are harmless, that we are beyond them. And that's when she's able to overtake, to basically take down Ernessa and eliminate her when she, when she's in the basement in the briefcase, or that large bag. So eventually she's able to shut it down and destroy her. And then we see at the end of that very poignant moment. I loved it because she had that Bible the entire time, and she was keeping that razor blade in her Bible.
In the Bible, yeah.
Which means she'd been the whole time flirting with the idea.
She knew.
Of just, and then of course she just discards it because she doesn't need it anymore.
Well, and that shows a lot of strength, that it was like she was under those vulnerable circumstances and still had an idea of what was going on and control over the situation in case, she was willing to let her mind loose. She was willing to put down her guard a little bit, but always at the back of her mind, she knew that she was going to have to defend herself one day against this whole situation. And that it really plays on. It's like, we kept talking about coming of age, and that's really what it is, watching somebody go through this. And she came out in a positive way, and it doesn't go that way for every person every time.
Like Lucy.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's a cool story. It was a really good movie, for what it was. And reading the reviews before seeing the movie was like, oh, this is going to suck. I know we have to fill time with a movie. And then I'm watching and I'm like, why did they say so many terrible things? And it's probably because it's teenage girls and it makes people uncomfortable to try to face those kinds of demons. And a lot of people, may not have faced the kind of thing that normal people have to go through. A lot of people have an easy life. And, they don't have to face those kinds of things. They have the support. They have the friends. They have the cliques. But some of us were out there, in the corner trying to figure it all out for ourselves. And you can kind of connect to that aspect of all the characters in this, except for maybe the narcissistic psychic vampire. But
interesting point here. Tony Regime says it's ironic that vampires are narcissistic but can't see their reflection in a mirror.
Which might be a hint as to why they're so narcissistic.
Maybe. Hint two, or
everybody
punishment because
considering they feed off of everybody, everyone else is an extension of them. So
that's how they see themselves.
They're inclined. That's literally narcissism manifest. Everyone around me is an extension of myself because I need them to survive. The narcissist needs everyone around them to be an extension of themselves in order to survive. So it's literally, because we look back at the history of it, the vampire was just the way of talking about the aristocrats at the time, that the rich prey upon the poor, that the rich make their money on the backs of the poor, and that everyone else is just an extension of their wealth and their gain. And that's what living, basically supping off the lifeblood of the working class is where the kind of the legend is built from. And so we see that it's reflected in that narcissistic relationship between those who have and those who work for those who basically just take from others, and those who work their ass off what they have, just invariably to have it taken by someone bigger and more powerful, more wealthy than they are.
Man, narcissists really destroy the thing that they need the most.
So there are two things about the mirrors, by the way. And Mr. Malore is correct. It's because mirrors were made with silver, which is one thing that was kind of a thing. But then you also had to remember that the idea of them being narcissistic, they didn't want to see the monster that they had become.
Yes. Yeah.
Couldn't face their true selves.
Couldn't face the true selves.
All right.
That's ironic because it's the only thing they love.
It's the only thing they love. Well, no, they love the idea of what they think they are, not what they truly are.
They will never truly see themselves.
And it swings.
Wow, there's so many cool fucking analogies.
Dude, but you think about that, it swings pretty heavily into the picture of Dorian Gray.
Mm.
Okay? Who had everything he wanted and was immortal and untouchable, save for the one painting.
And the painting, yep.
That he couldn't destroy, which was the reflection of his true nature. And
the monster inside.
The monster within him.
Yep. So kind of a hard left. I want to ask the audience, do we think that these types of films are better as mainstream or more art house style films? This was definitely an art house style film. A lot of production value, a lot of set design. Not so mainstream in this one here because it's a gothic horror film. Would we like to see more gothic horror film as mainstream, or do we want to keep them more art house pieces? Let us know. weekinhorror@gmail.com.
They got to do like 3-part series like Dracula on Netflix. That was fantastic.
That was pretty boss.
Yeah.
That series was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Johnny. Yeah,
what?
Never mind. I'll pick up my own cue. So the next film that we have.
I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me try this again. Take 2 beats. Because JL needs a cue. JL, what do we have up next?
Did you just? Yep, he did.
I did.
Fucking transition, man. Why are you fucking with my shit?
I like to watch you squirm.
Hey, it wasn't as bad as last night, man. I'll tell you that.
Fucking killing me.
Last night was fun.
All right. So this is an interesting one. I've been looking forward to talking about this one. A bit of a tough one to find. I had some people ask me. I had a few people ask me about this movie, where they could possibly find it. This one was a difficult one to find. This is the movie Shadows, released September 9th, 2007. Yep. So, and I'm going to try, because now I put myself in the situation where I have to break this stuff down. So, directed by Milcho Manchevsky and written by Milcho Manchevsky and written by Milcho Manchevsky and starring, I want to make sure I get their names right as well, Borsay Nasev, Saletin Bilal, Vesna Stanojevska, Sabina Arula, and Radka Radmanovich.
This is why Eugene took off, because he was afraid that you were going to do a switcheroo and make him have to say all those Russian names.
Sir Little Wolf. Jail will be haunted by that transition. Yes, I will be haunted by that transition. But yes, this was an incredibly interesting movie. So it must be said that this is not okay. This is a co-production. It is a Macedonian, German, Italian, Spanish, Bulgarian co-production. Okay, which was not done on a massive budget.
Wait, say that again. That was convoluted as fuck.
Right, exactly. So that's why it was a difficult film to find, but nonetheless, extremely well done. The film follows the son of a physician who struggles to live up to other people's expectations of himself until one day he's confronted after an accident where he should have died, is then confronted by people who appear before him to die over and over and over again. And so the concept within this film, the character Lucky, or it was
Laser?
Lazar Perkov.
Yeah.
It's a little horror word salad. The notion, what got me about this one was, number one, the artistry of the film. The film is lovingly crafted, extremely well done. Its transitions are beautiful. The acting is fantastic. And Commander Darklight's right. I should have just said Eastern European, because that's pretty much what it was.
That's all of Eastern Europe.
And the acting was absolutely phenomenal. But this is a deeply, deeply haunting film. But actually light on the horror elements. There's horror elements in it, but it's not typically classified as a horror movie. I consider it, because it speaks to deeper things within us. And that's what I want to talk about. The story in and of itself is basically just a person coming to terms, is a meditation on people coming to terms with their mortality and realizing that the things that they think they're important are not actually important, that we take for granted the things that are actually important, because they're usually, we always assume that they'll be there. And in actuality, when as the protagonist sees, they're not. So it's coming to terms with one's own mortality and coming to terms with what is important in life and being faced with these horrific scenarios, which help to kind of embed this. Almost, I got a real sense of like A Christmas Carol in seeing this, like where a person is kind of like revisiting aspects of themselves so that they can see where they went wrong and recognize something about themselves they didn't know before.
See, I felt more of like you don't know what you got until it's gone kind of.
Oh yeah, you see that as well. Like A Wonderful Life, which is really, exactly. which is a weird comparison. I was kind of like, it's like, that's so odd. It's like, but it's an interesting take on it.
I almost watching it, okay, because it's got the horrific elements, and first of all, that fucking crash scene, that was insane.
Gnarly, yeah, that was gnarly as well.
That was crazy. But this one clung so tight. It made you feel like you were there, and then it would make you feel what you were seeing. I'd say it was more of a psychological thriller than like a psychological horror. But the way that it makes you feel can make it seem more horror than it actually is, because of the acting. It was absolutely fantastic, top-notch acting, and the scenes and the way that it made you feel while you're watching it was all part of the experience. Absolutely. But yeah, no, that crash scene though, it was just like, take a deep breath.
Yeah. And
what happened?
I don't know. I just saw Johnny have to turn his camera off, but a profoundly haunting movie. And that's why I wanted to bring this one up. The sense that you don't see horror films with this level of artistry, with this level of commitment to the camera work, to the cinematography, director of photography, set design, everything. You would see this. You would see this level of professionalism going into, this level of, I would say, attention to detail and professionalism going into mainstream horror films, or just mainstream films overall, films that really, really resonate with people. But oddly, this one did not. This thing flew so under the radar, it was almost impossible to find. I came by it on chance while looking up another film called Shadows.
Really?
So, and it's because
I was wondering how you got to it, because you can't just like search for it and find it. You really got to dig for it.
Somebody asked me on Discord, it was like, which Shadows are you guys going to be talking about? Because I found stuff going back all the way to 87. And I'm like, there's a lot of movies out there called Shadows. So I just say this is the one from 2007.
There's a movie called The Shadows that was it was a kind of a bigger one that I think people thought this one was.
But that's why I was so happy when Eugene was giving me the show to be all four of us, because Eugene loves talking about the technical aspects of filmmaking and the things that go into it.
I couldn't even begin to touch on this shit like he could on this, because he's been behind that camera before, and I couldn't imagine the focus that it would take to do this whole movie the way that they did. There was so much attention to detail in it that they had to be watching every corner of every frame at all points in time for it to all line up the way that it did.
This is the beauty of planning. Of making sure that everything is planned out, to the best of your capability. There's going to be some things that kind of just happen that you got to deal with and you got to roll with. Sometimes it rolls in a good way and you get to keep that for the movie. Sometimes it rolls in a bad way and you just go on to the next take. But in this particular one, the level of craftsmanship that went into this, I want to see more from these people, from everyone on this crew. I want to see more from them, because that's the kind of movie this was. It will seduce you in the fact that you think that this is not really a horror film until you start recognizing it. Because I saw it, like I said A Wonderful Life, and I said A Christmas Carol, but also I would say A Wonderful Life meets Jacob's Ladder in this respect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. When we're going along the personal journey with this individual, because that's how tightly how I would say tightly committed they were to bringing the audience along and sympathizing with this character and what he's dealing with.
And it never pulled away.
Yeah, and then the visuals that come along with the really, I mean, it was the old man with the baby got me a lot. The metaphor of that got me a whole bunch of this one, and I really hope a lot of people, more people get to watch this one. So the big thing on this, and I see Johnny has stepped away for a moment, but what got me on this one was the real life horror, because this one, unlike ghosts and vampires, and werewolves, and monsters, and or personifications of whatever, this is legitimate existential horror, is what this is. And I'm pretty sure because it's existential is why it didn't get classified really as a horror movie. But the existential terror of this, of the unknown, of what is beyond, of fearing that you've taken your life for granted, fearing that you have not respected others, fearing that others don't respect you, the things that are unsaid. Very similar. Something that kept hitting me was, and I'm going to get a little personal on this one. When my father passed away, he and I were on the verge of, we're pretty much estranged. We weren't really talking. We were, the circa the earliest one was 1959. Yep. We weren't really chatting, and it was pretty much that was what it was. I mean, I don't know another way to put it. We were estranged at the time. So when he passed away, there were many things that were unsaid, and there were, and I'm quite certain that he felt the same way that I did in respect that there are things that should have been said, and he wasn't sure. And I don't know. You're always going to wonder: did the other person, when they passed away with all these things unsaid, did they know that I loved them? Did they know that I respected them? Did they see these things, or did I fail to convey them as I should? I have these feelings. I'd like to think my dad did as well. So it's, you deal with this stuff, and this one sticks this shit right in your face.
Absolutely. And see, that's kind of ironic. We've never really had that conversation before, on a personal level. Welcome to a personal corner on Week in Horror. But I did not know my biological mom very well. She left when I was young, and then she tried to reach out when I was 18, and I didn't know what to say to her. She had split 10, 15 years previously, and we weren't on speaking terms ever. And it got to a point where it was like, I feel like I should reach out. And she tried to reach me through some family members, and I was told, by my dad, and, if you want to reach out, reach out. So I wrote up an email in a draft, and I left it there until I was ready to send that email. Well, unfortunately, she got into an accident and passed away a few years after my 18th birthday, and I never got to say what I wanted to say to her. And so that, watching the same aspect, I'll never, ever be able to get to say. It's the thought that I'll never, ever be able to get to put that down on paper and put it in front of her and tell her how I felt. And that exactly is what you're saying about this movie, is it grabs that part inside of you, because everybody's got their story, and it pulls that out and puts it in front of you. And I know when I was about 28 years old, when I decided that I wasn't invincible anymore, that's when I knew I wasn't invincible and started facing my own mortality. I got real sick one time, and I've been told by a doctor, like, oh, you got something going on with your heart, and you got to think about it. You start thinking about dying, and it's like, that's terrifying. And you hit a point in your life where mortality becomes real, and that's scary. And you can tell that was what went into this movie. Whether this was something that the director Manchevsky was facing at the time and was like, we got to get that on film, or it's something that he had been thinking about for a long time. You can't. It's so raw, you can't tell.
The film,
you can't tell if
it
was
personal.
very raw.
Yeah.
And that drags you down a road that you come out the other end feeling not necessarily uneasy, but definitely vulnerable.
Yeah.
And opened up for sure.
This film definitely goes up there in the ranks with another film that hit me pretty hard. Was the movie
Darby Does Dallas.
So
Sorry.
And
hey, we're pretty close to there.
But yeah, so I mean, I highly recommend this one, and if you're able to find it, I may try to stream it in Discord as well, so other people can see it. Some people may not call it a horror film. I consider it to be one, because it dives into real things that we're afraid of, and so that's what I'm curious about, and that's what I wanted to ask the audience. kind of get their opinion in the sense of why they think it is. It appears to be that horror films that address real fears, real existential fears, death, the unknown, the other, these things that are deeply personal to us and are very ingrained in reality, not monsters and aliens and shit like that. I mean, these are all the threat is external to us like this, but no, the things that speak to us. When these types of horror films just do not get the accolades that I think they're often deserving of, because these are the ones that are reflective of the human condition and speak to who we are as human beings and the questions that we don't have answers for. And sometimes those questions are very fucking scary, but they do not get it. And they don't get the accolades that other films typically do. I'd like to know why people think why that is. Is it because it's too much? Because we don't like to think about these things. We like to go to the movies. We like to watch movies to divest ourselves from the things that plague us. We want to escape them, not be confronted with them when we watch our movies. And maybe
why are you doing this to me?
Well, yes. Why? Yeah, I wanted to go watch a horror movie, not stare into the fucking void.
I just spent $17 on a ticket, $23 on popcorn, and now I don't know if I want to go home.
So I'm curious about this. I'd like to get people's input on that. Let us know, weekinhorror@gmail.com or down in the comments below. All right, we got one more, and it's yours, Alex. Bring us home. Bring us home. Right.
This one was more of a... See, this kind of brings a psychological terror back into horror. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, so let's talk about the movie Cube. Came out September 11th, 1998.
It's one of those numbers.
Christ. One of those numbers. A long fucking time ago. I was 8 years old.
Fuck you.
I graduated high school this year.
Yeah, I was getting ready.
1998?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I just learned how to pee in a toilet, apparently.
Alex was
I'm accepting my diploma, and Alex is like, I made a duty.
What am I supposed to do with these Cheerios after I peed in them?
I wiped my ass. I wiped my own ass.
I pooped in my bed, so I put it on the television.
You gotta be shitting me, dude. We gotta stop making those connections, because I was in third grade at that point in time. So that's insane. And then, of course, see, now I see why Eugene took off, man, because the names in this movie are definitely not American.
Nicole, Nikki, David, Andrew, Julian, Wayne, Maurice. Simple.
Just get their last names in there and you're good to go. Go ahead, Alex.
So I'm going to fuck all these up, but directed by Vincenzo Natali, written by Andre Bielik. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Graham Manson.
What?
It's Graham Manson. Graham Manson.
Is it Graham?
Graham.
Graham. See, I would have said something stupid. Anyways, Graham Manson. Starring Nicole, David, Nikki. Nicole DeBoer.
Yep.
DeBoer.
Nicole DeBoer, Nikki Guadagni, David Hewlett.
Then you make me
Andrew
sound
Miller,
stupid.
Julian Richings, Wayne
Just
Robson,
say Esri Dax,
Maurice Dean Wint,
and Wayne Robson. Did I get that one?
Yes,
Yep.
You did get that one.
Very good.
Anyways, group of people. Fuck you, man. You make everything look so easy, and then me look so stupid, and that's welcome to Week in Horror. But anyways, group of people.
You think that'll date you? Alpha K91 says, pretty sure this one we rented with our Blockbuster card.
Yep.
Seriously, everybody had this movie at some point from Blockbuster. It was great. I remember that was when I saw it was on VHS.
Yeah.
So anyways, 6 people wake up inside of a giant cube. And as they kind of go from room to room, get slowly drugged farther into madness as they try to use their different skills to survive the
what I do have.
Unending amount of problems that end up being deadly for some.
So what you're saying is the cube is
shit gets real. Shit, I forgot to do Eugene's line. Fuck, he's gonna hate me.
He is. So what you're saying is a cube is ultimately Liam Neeson.
It has a very particular set of skills.
I think Liam Neeson would have survived the cube. I do. He has a particular set of skills.
Liam Neeson would have made the cube implode.
Such a like hard left, but I just never saw Liam Neeson as a badass. Even watching that film, like, come on, Grandpa. Come on, Grandpa.
Let's
go sit down and
he was ultra badass in the gray. He was ultra badass in the gray.
That's true. That's true. But he was like 20 years younger, so
right. No, dude, in Taken, it was like I felt like at any point in time he was gonna get he was gonna be going, and then somebody was just gonna fucking take him out because he was just like a dad.
Yeah, like a grandpa.
So
Charlie Horse.
He like falls down, gets shot in the head, and the movie's over.
This movie.
Anyways, Liam Neeson in Cube.
Yep. JL's like, I'm looking at you guys.
Commander Dark Light. I don't remember Liam Neeson sucking on a button to keep his saliva going.
Well, then you haven't seen Backdoor. Never mind.
Whoa.
Taken Backdoor. Taken Out Back. Anyways, go ahead.
No, I was saying, so this particular one, obviously, there's essentially two types of films here. And it can be, and I think this is when you have to make the determination because this can kind of get lost on the surface. Obviously, the draw is people in the rooms. They don't know why they're there. Hidden information kind of situation. The rooms move around. The rooms have brutal fucking traps.
Some of those things.
And I mean, and it's fucked up because like as the franchise progresses, they get worse.
Dude, they get so it's like an early Saw, but like
I was gonna say definitely you can see the influence it had on some of the horror films like Saw afterwards.
The razor wire one is still the one that gets me there.
Oh yeah, the one that was obviously copied in a certain zombie
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
We've seen this before.
But in that respect, this thing obviously and Cube goes miles deep, essentially, yeah. But that was the whole thing, is that in essence, the rooms themselves are dangerous. Because one, they're dangerous because the rooms offer nothing for you. That was an interesting part of this film, is that one of the things that was chosen when they were developing the film was what the urgency of this, there is no food or water in the rooms anywhere. So the sense of urgency is to get out. You must escape, or you will, at minimum, you will die of dehydration. Even if the rooms don't kill you, if you just sit in one place, you'll eventually you'll starve to death, or you'll die of dehydration. That's pretty much it. So that's the urgency to get out. So you're already putting people in a situation where the survival is threatened. Not to mention they have amnesia, so they don't know what's going on. They don't know who the bad guys are. They don't know if the people in the room with them are the bad guys. So then paranoia and other psychoses begin to play on them as they begin to like look around, try to find ways to get one over on the other one. Then you throw in the traps. So the rooms are doubly dangerous. One, they offer no resource. Two, they could be trapped, but you don't know until you enter them, and that could be the end of you. So that's what I love about this thing. But the rooms themselves, in essence, though the traps may change, the rooms don't change. What I found interesting was it was the people themselves as they move from place to place, as they move from point to point, from room to room. It's the people that change. And every time they enter a room, especially, and this one got me because I didn't pick up on it the first time, was the change in color. Was that there were different rooms. The cubes had different color palettes, but the one room would be all white or all red,
all blue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Where's that come from?
Simon?
What?
The game of Simon? I don't know.
Mask of the Red Death.
I can see
that's a reach.
No, it's not.
I think
it's not a reach.
No. The reason it was done that for two reasons. The reason it was done that way was one, for a technical purpose. There was only one cube built for the movie.
No,
they're
I
constantly
understand.
moving it out of each one. So in order to make it look different, they would change the color palettes on the lighted cube, and then so it's just, now you're in a blue cube. Yeah. Now you're in a red cube. Now you're in a white cube. And then and all the scenes, they shot all the red cube scenes for and then they would move on to shoot so it made it easier to do set design, which is pretty brilliant.
Yes. And
but
it's also brilliant because it was a play off of the thematic styles of Mask of the Red Death. When we talk about different colored rooms,
Yeah, but Poe only used red in that.
No, he
in
didn't.
This one,
no, he didn't. He had a red room. He had a blue room. He had a green room. There were multiple colors in Mask of the Red Death.
Okay, yes, because it plays to the idea that the monochromatic speaks to people in different ways, and that was the intent. That's the intention of the rooms. Because if you take 7 people, as it begins in this movie, you put them all into a
reach, motherfuckers.
I guess we're saying
this movie is just like the Count of Monte Cristo.
But the themes of the Mask of the Red Death are not.
No, I'm not talking about.
Yeah, thematically, they're different stories. I mean, it's an aspect that's reused. I don't even think Poe used it for that purpose, though.
Why wouldn't he?
I think he was doing
each room had a different theme.
I think he was doing it for the viewer or for the reader because he was writing them.
Yeah.
And making it all green.
Sidebar: Elizabeth Sylvester, I agree. Resident Evil was a great series of movies. Go ahead.
Boom.
Great series of movies to miss.
Anyway, but that's what it is. The monochromatic rooms play to people differently. And so it's the people that change as they move from room to room. And that's what got me in this. And
they either adapt and overcome, or they give up and die, or they're not strong enough to survive.
That's where the idea where this film, and we use the term Kafka, where this film is very Kafkaesque. Because the rooms are almost to the point that, they're static. They're dangerous, and they don't provide you anything. The rooms are literally just the system in and of itself. But it's the people who are going through them, who are constantly changing, who are constantly metamorphosizing as they move from room to room. They're adapting, they're evolving, they're changing. Either they're degenerating or they are progressing. It doesn't matter. The fact that the system of where the rooms are is all based in mathematics, and very difficult mathematics at that, because it works in like all on the XYZ axis, and then of course, so you've got that aspect to it, which math can drive people nuts as well, trying to figure shit out, especially when you have no pen and no paper. So the bureaucratic, static nonsense of the rooms themselves that they don't change harken very much back to Kafka's The Metamorphosis, or Kafka's Metamorphosis, about a man who wakes up and all of a sudden he's a giant insect.
I hate it when that happens.
I know.
Yeah, it really mess up your Monday. Must be a Monday.
Somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
I want to punch that flare guy in the face right now. Thanks, guys.
So and that's what I got from this. It was an examination, is that in the face of nothingness, in the face of things that don't change, how we change. And that's what makes Q really scary. It wasn't
the nothingness is so oppressive that it does make it very Kafkaesque. You're right, but
yes,
it's like it comes back to like there's no food, there's no water. You're gonna die. You're gonna dehydrate if you don't make it out. But if you give up, you're gonna die. If you keep going, you could fuck up and die. It's like you've got no choice. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna fight to survive? Are you gonna be a little bitch and just cry in the corner? Which actually doesn't work for what's his face.
Live or die. Make your choice.
It's it's just what was the line? What is it? No more talking, no more guessing. You got to save yourselves from yourselves. And that was like the line in the movie that was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's like hope. That's he's like, you got to save yourself. It doesn't work. Trust me.
No, it never does.
Sorry.
And invariably in the end, the person who look at who essentially the autistic character, and I don't really think this is the late 90s. The autism wasn't really represented very well in movies, especially in horror films. But at the end, it's the autism.
Either the genius that saved the day or the bumbling idiot.
Exactly. And who invariably somebody tries to use to like set up a trap and in order to use to get ahead in that respect. But in this one, it's the savant, it's the mathematical savant, and then that individual ends up being, because that one is because the autistic guy, and it is not aggressive, he doesn't attack anybody, he's generally sheltered by the more compassionate people in the group, and invariably their compassion gets them killed, the aggression of the other ones gets them killed, but the guy who invariably does nothing except read the math, but he essentially does nothing, is the one that winds up surviving, which is a reflection of what would have happened, because if they'd stayed in the first room from the beginning, they'd have been freed. 16 hours later, they would the rooms would the door would have opened up and they would.
Yeah, but it's not like the damn thing came with instructions.
Well, this is true.
Hey,
but
guys.
The fact that the cube operate in the same reflection as the character that survived it, the character who actually didn't do anything. And he didn't foster relationships.
Yeah, but do you think you could have figured that out in the moment in that type of situation?
Oh no, I would have panicked, run off into a room, and got smoked.
Why? See, that's my question.
That's found my shoes laying somewhere.
That's why this is such an early '90s film to me, because it's so fucking obvious. If you get kidnapped, just like in Saw, if you get kidnapped and you're put into a room, clearly the person that put you there could get there in and out. Like, there's an out from that room. You got put into that room from the outside world. There's a way out from that room. Just fucking chill there and figure it out.
Yeah. You just got to cut your eyeball out, or cut your leg off, or shoot the guy across.
Why
from
run
you.
off? Like in Cube, why run off? You clearly got there from this point. It's not like they put you in there. I mean, it could be a multi-dimensional situation.
Because people's natural, propensity to want to stay alive, if they don't understand the situation, is most people generally the whole fight or flight kind of thing. If there's nothing to fight,
flight.
Well, I mean, even if you are fight. If there's nothing to fight, then you're kind of left with one choice:
die,
flight.
Oh,
you either fight your circumstances or you run away from them.
It always seemed pretty obvious to me that if you got stuck into a room, there was a door to get out of that room.
Well, I love the depth of this film, that it goes far, far deeper. I mean, you can enjoy it just on the surface level as what it is. People, waking up in a torture joint, trying to make their way out of it. But I like that it reflected that there were grander meanings to the end of this. Obviously, because no meaning is given to the cube. There's like in the first film, I mean, they expand upon this in the second film in Hypercube and in Cube Zero. They expanded this to whole government thing, but we don't know this in the first movie. In the first movie, it's immaterial. Exactly. Yeah. You are in a place. It's very Sartre in the respect that you will get out by your own means, but you're not going to want to. And the concept that people will stay where they're at instead of dealing with the shit that's in front of them. That they will literally accept, like Kafka, they were literally invariably accept. You turn into a giant fucking insect. And instead of fighting against this, they will invariably just end up rolling with the system.
It's kind of ironic with today's.
And that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Cube gets me every time, especially the first one. The second one was kind of, it was like it kind of do my favorite Forever Night vampire, Garrett Wood Davies, was in the second one. I really enjoy. I mean, I like watching him act. He was the bad guy, so it was good to see him be a bad guy. And I enjoyed Cube Zero. Was pretty rough. The traps in that one, especially the melting dude at the very beginning. That one always gets me. It's like his fucking skin starts sloughing off and shit. And I was like, what the fuck?
What?
Because it's slow and it's just like I couldn't tell if it was acid. I couldn't tell if it was what was sprayed on him or what he ingested. But whatever came out of those walls, he thought it was water. It was not
inside or out. It fucked him up.
Inside or out, it fucked him up, and he melted. But going, oh god, fucking hell, gross. I would only hope that his nerve endings were severed so he couldn't feel it. But yeah, that looked really horrible. But yeah, I like how deep Cube goes, how deep you can go into it, and you can watch as the actors specifically make the choices when they are affected by each room as they walk into them. Brilliant fucking filmmaking. And they did it all. Look at this for you future filmmakers out there. Look how simple that is. The whole movie was one cube.
It was just one cube.
That's it. And one cube.
Different light bulbs.
With 6 lighted deals, with 6 lighted panels. And then they just changed the gels on them in order to make it into a different room.
Yep.
And then you just have to make damn sure your actors are talented enough that they can shoot a movie like this, because the movie was not shot chronologically. So their descent into madness was not shot chronologically. Different levels of madness throughout production. And I found that to be brilliant. It's just really, really good shit.
It was great.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we talk about movies that are this old or, classics like this, we ask the audience, like, do you think that they could do this kind of movie nowadays? Do you think they could bring this back? Well, look no farther, because they are actually rebooting this movie. Lionsgate is doing a reboot of this movie here.
Johnny, you look so depressed.
Can they pretend to put out a new movie once every now and again? Just pretend. Don't call the cube, call the fucking pyramid. I don't fucking care. Lie to me a little bit.
Actually, they kind of haven't. They've been calling them escape room.
Remakes are just something that you gotta fucking accept, man. We've done everything. We've gone as far as
look. I'm not wholeheartedly against remake. I mean, I'm part of a production team that did remade Nailgun.
I was gonna say, didn't movie just start in get an award for being a remake?
Can we get something that's, like I said, lie to me a little bit?
Sir Little Wolf says no. Of course, yeah, Sir Little Wolf is a wolf, so it may be a howl, but definitely saying woo. But it's not just Lionsgate that's remaking this.
No, there's actually October 22nd. Japan is actually slated to release
getting the Japanese remake too.
A version.
It's got two remakes.
Terrible. It was bad. I apologize to everybody out there who may be of Japanese persuasion. That was
my god, Johnny, you went there.
It's extremely wrong of me. I apologize.
But yeah,
fucking hilarious. But
it was great.
But yeah, two remakes of Cube coming up. We got the Japanese remake and then the Lionsgate American. So we're getting an American remake and a Japanese remake on this. I'm actually really curious about the Japanese one because the Japanese one takes shit so fucking far. And I'm really curious.
Japanese horror, man. Japanese horror is fucked up, especially their psychological horror. God damn, man. Like, hey, look, we're making a movie to fuck with your mind, motherfucker. So you better strap the fuck in.
It's the way Commander Darkness is the cube with a kaiju in one of the rooms. Yeah, Sir Little Wolf is correct. Yeah, I could watch a Japanese version of this. I don't know. I mean, I'll watch them both, but I'm actually kind of excited about the Japanese version just to see their take, because we see, America, the American takes on Japanese films, on J horror, K horror. We see those takes all the time. They usually wind up crap. But I'm really curious about the Japanese version of this one, of an American film. Actually, this technically was a Canadian film.
It was a Canadian film.
Canada is in the American continent.
Well, and then, who is it? How could the story be improved in a remake? And that's Mr. Andras says that's a very good question.
I wouldn't have a problem if it was a reboot or just a sequel. You know what I mean? Another telling of the story. But like I said, lie to me a little bit.
That's the thing. The Japanese version is that it's just a remake, and all the characters are based off of the originals. So could they do it better? I mean, with the technology and stuff, but it's like that's the thing. It was so low tech that they would have to keep it low tech to make it good. So
but part of the charm of the original is the lo-fi.
Right.
The fact that it was so simplistic.
If they take it too far, they could fuck it up. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the Japanese.
Yeah,
remake.
That's the dangerous part about redoing a movie like this is because part of the biggest part of the charm was the fact that it was a low budget, I would say low budget, but it was, extremely tight. Mm-hmm. Like I said, one fucking room, literally one room. I don't know. The stuff like that is kind of, that's what I liked the most about the original Saw film was that whole thing was shot in 18 days and they did it all in one location.
Well, the Cube was shot in 20 days.
Yep.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Right. That's what I'm talking about. Right.
Yeah.
So you have these films that are done so, I don't want to say guerrilla-like, but definitely shoestring, time-wise, you have no time to make mistakes. And if you do make a mistake, you got to make it work. And, everything just has to be really on point and everything's got to be so planned out, because when you give yourself 18 or 20 days to shoot a film, there's a lot of shit that goes wrong while shooting a film. If you don't have a whole lot of time.
And if you only got $500,000.
I think Alpha Canada 1 wants to see some Tetsuo shit in this. So we actually covered on a previous episode Tetsuo the Bullet Man. And that movie is so fucked up. But trust me, dude, drill penises, that's par for the course in Japanese horror. So, Johnny, look at Johnny's face. You weren't around when we covered Tetsuo.
Oh, that was an episode for sure.
That was early on.
I just like that you called it a drill penis.
It is a drill penis.
We went so far into that one too. Like
we went deep. Yeah, it's
you went deep into that one, huh?
Yeah, because the penis had a drill, so you could go pretty far in.
And of course, being a reflection of the Japanese mentality, the Japanese businessman during post World War II, and what led to invariably the loss of identity for the Japanese businessman, which led to the spate of suicide reactions to that kind of identityless existence for the Japanese male. And
this is really making me excited for the Cube reboot now.
I'm very curious where they're going to take it. I really, really am.
And then you got the Lionsgate side though.
Well, Elizabeth Sylvester says, so Japanese horror films are a lot better than others. They can be because unlike America, it's different, but because there are certain things that American audiences, mainstream audience, will not tolerate. But Japanese filmmakers are not afraid to go places that American filmmakers
are not.
Yeah. So they'll explore themes and they'll explore visual stuff that American films won't touch.
We've talked about it before, how Japanese horror films focus more on actual lore and lore and stories and stuff. It's part of their culture, as opposed to we use horror movies as entertainment in America. They use, the horror that they talk about is like real life stuff that they, the stories that they were told growing up. And there's a lot of life lessons in their horror movies, and they use it to scare kids into being complacent.
And they don't pull any punches.
But no, and they're not afraid to go for it. We use it for entertainment in America, but it has to follow entertainment guidelines. It has to fit a certain crowd. They want to be able to sell movie tickets. And a lot of Japanese horror, especially like a lot of the kind of indie underground stuff, they just fucking go for it. Yeah. And they don't hold back. And it's like, I'm going to put everything I'm imagining in my head onto paper. I don't care what anybody thinks. And it ends up being really good a lot of the times. A lot of the stuff that we like Americanize, like The Ring and like The Grudge and stuff, is very Americanized, and it's not as scary as the originals because, there's an actual scary story behind it.
Because of Sarah Michelle Gellar and...
Right. You got these people that they've seen them in the movies before. And so as an American watching Japanese horror films, they can be a lot scarier than American horror films to me because there's a lot that goes into it. Unlike Lionsgate, who's going to take this movie, call it Cubed, and hopefully not fuck it up.
So
they're gonna fuck it up.
Definitely let us know, weekinhorror@gmail.com. If you're looking forward to either one of the remakes, the Japanese one or the American one, let us know in the comments below, or neither. Should they just not touch this thing at all, and they should just leave Cube alone? I'm curious to hear what you all think. So guess what, everybody?
What?
That's
what,
it.
JL?
That's it. That's all. That's it. No, it is. It's about what everybody's waiting for. It is trivia time.
It is.
Yay! I still need an intro where I can go like trivia time.
Trivia time.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So
it's time to win some free shit.
It is trivia time. Time to win some free shit. And it hasn't been announced yet, but it will be this month. So you're gonna have to wait a little bit on this.
Holy crap! Yeah, today is the first of the month.
This is the 1st of September.
Oh shit!
So what I'm gonna do, what we're doing is, you are going to get for this particular episode. I got to make sure I'm ready to write it down. Write down the winner. So this is trivia time. And for episode 50 fucking episodes and
51.
Season 2 is almost due. This is episode 50.
50.
Yeah.
Was it not 51?
No, it's got to be 51.
Next week on the 8th is 51, and then the season finale is on the 15th.
How the fuck do we have episode 100?
Because
we had episode 50.
Because that's 100 days, and every year there's 54 days. Because there's 52 weeks in a year.
52 weeks.
One episode a week. 100 episodes, but there's 108.
It would have to be
104 days, 104 days.
Yeah.
So there's a 4 day difference there.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're at 48, so it should be at 50.
This is episode 50. That's what I just fucking said.
Sorry for
Speaking of math. Jesus Christ. Ironic for the fucking trivia question.
50.
You got to get him ready for the math question, like Alex said. What the fuck is the matter with you people?
The winner of this one will get
nothing.
An official
Not a goddamn thing.
You get nothing.
You get nothing.
No, we are giving away an official Week in Horror Season 3 artwork t-shirt.
It's not going to be the special one, right? It's going to be the season 3.
No, it's not the limited edition. This is the official season 3 artwork.
Oh, what was that? What was that theme song? Hang on a second. Can you give a hint?
Season 3
I don't
artwork
think that's
shirt.
it.
The artwork that was done by Joshua Olsen, his link for as Bad Samurai store, badsamurai.store. The link
Check
is in
that
the
shit
description.
out.
Check his shit out. He's got some great stuff
It's
over there.
fantastic.
He did the artwork for season 3, and this will be we are giving away. So
Find out.
when we debut it on the store, when it goes live with the season 3, so you got to wait until the season finale. But then we will send you. This one I'm going to take on the information. We're going to send you an official Week in Horror season 3 shirt. I'm sure you guys. I can't spoil it yet.
We just gave you a hint. We just gave you a hint. That's it. That's the only hint you get.
So
Alex,
here we
gave you a
go.
hint.
Trivia time.
Trivia time. Go for it. It's go time. Feed me. Yes, I know it's me. I just wanted to see you sweat.
I'm not sweating.
I'm not sweating.
Oh, I am. It's hot as fuck out in this garage, dude.
All right. So in the film The Cube, how many cube rooms were contained within the sarcophagus? How many rooms? Damn it! How many rooms were in the cube?
That's a simple way of putting it.
Yep.
Words hard.
I don't sleep.
Multi-syllables.
I don't sleep. Okay, so fuck your mother. Somebody was up late last night editing someone else's video. Not going to say who or name names.
Yeah, putting typos in it too.
Like I said, fucking,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, when you're up,
Open the door.
when you're up as late as I am, I think sarcasm may have it.
Oh, let me see here. We got the answers that we got.
Sarcasm has it.
Sarcasm. Wait.
We want to verify.
I've got somebody before sarcasm.
Oh, Jinju. Yeah, let's double check. Let's look.
Jinju.
Let's double check it.
Sarcasm. Yeah, Jinju. I think they both came in at the same time. It's just Jinju came in like
it's whoever. It's whoever came up first in that chat. So we got to find out.
Well, then it's Jinju. Yeah.
Week in Horror. And we're currently. I got to lower the volume because there we go. If I go to live chat, all right. So going down the live chat, and you guys can confirm. I've got first on the board is Jinju with 17,576 rooms, which is the answer. We also would have accepted 26 cubed, which is 17,576. Yep. So there were 17,576 rooms in the cube. So yes, Jinju. I got Jinju first. Yes, same with everybody.
Yep.
Fan friggin' test. Congratulations to Jinju.
Congratulations! Yay! You get a mystery T-shirt.
And Alpha K91, Jinju got a comma for the bonus.
And you get Jinju, you will be getting a season 3 artwork shirt as soon as we debut that. We will be debuting that shirt. We will debut that shirt on the season finale. So be sure to attend then, and you will get the shirt. I can't wait to show you. I'm so proud of the artwork that Olsen did. It's fucking amazing. So it's going to be great. All right. So congratulations again, Jinju. We got a bunch of other answers in there. Show Little Wolf at 1880. Sarcasm so close. Tony Regime 30. Commander Darklight 10,000. Alpha K91. Haven't seen it in 20 years.
Nailed it.
Runner up. Yep. And then everyone's got, yep. Awesome. Congratulations again to Jinju. Fan-fucking-tastic. Well, that is going to bring another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you all so much for listening, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week when we look back at Hardware, The Cleansing Hour, Polaroid, and the one icon we haven't talked about yet, Wishmaster. Now, we'd like to send a special shout out to all of our amazing patrons who have helped us make the show the success that it has become. Thank you all so very, very much. Also, be sure to check out Joshua Olsen's new store. He does all the artwork for us for all of our limited edition tees and our cover art. He has amazing new designs over at his store, badsamurai.store. The link is in the description. Visit us at weekinhorror.net, where you can find links to all of our episodes, our bios, our merch store at Teespring, and of course, enter your email for a permanent entry to win a mystery horror shirt every month, courtesy of $6shirts.com. We love them over there. For more horror entertainment, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Followers get our daily splatter, a little bit of horror info every single day right to your feed. You never know what new horrors you may discover. Subscribe to our channel. Smash that bell like a zombie head for all the latest notifications from the show. We really hope you enjoyed the new live format when we decided to take this live. I think this is our 26th episode live or 27th episode live. And we'd love to get your feedback on them. Be sure to leave us a comment below, as the interactions really help us with that dreaded algorithm. And lastly, if you truly love what we do here and you would like and are able to support our production, you can through our Patreon. We have subscriber tiers as low as $1 a month, bonus and exclusive content and horror films that we send to you. Movies from our collection we send to you every month for our higher tiers. And however, if you prefer, you can support the show through our PayPal as well. Links to all of this, including to our Discord community where you can find film recommendations, trailers for the movies that we just talked about, trivia games, horror watch parties, and even interact directly with all of us are all in the description. And of course, things are insane out there. We thought, we were on the verge of recovery, and apparently it's just getting nuts. So
nope.
It's chaos. But you guys are here with us, and we absolutely love each and every one of you for it. As always, simply commenting, liking, and sharing this show with the friends in your local horror community is the best way you can continue to help us grow. We want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for being the greatest audience a podcast could have. I am JL.
I'm Johnny.
You jackasses.
Go ahead, Alex. You go first.
I'm Eugene. Look at the script. It says JL, then Eugene.
I know it. I'm sorry. I saw Eugene and I was like,
I'm Eugene.
Outro fucking fail. I'm JL.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Johnny Gene.
We'll see you all next week. And as always, if you can, stay scared.
Ooh.